everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog, and welcome to my TV episode Roundup series. So before I get into what TV shows I watched for the week, I would like to remind everyone that new videos will be posted up every Sunday. It could be Sunday morning, Sunday night, or Sunday evening, depending on when I can get the videos posted up. And if you happen to see any videos posted up during the week, that must mean that there was a bit of TV show or movie news that was released during the week that I wanted to cover, so those would be considered special videos. But new videos will be posted up every Sunday, and every Monday I will have the TV episode Roundup videos posted, and that's where I list all the episodes I watched for the week, from worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So those will be posted up every Monday. So now let's get into this week's TV episode Roundup. So I'm actually surprised to say that there was no worst episodes of this week. All the episodes I watched this week were pretty awesome, actually. So I don't really have any 2-star or 2.5-star or 3-star rating episodes for this week, which is amazing. So that means all the episodes did pretty well. And there is one show that's not a part of this list, and that's The Orville, and that's because last week there was no new episodes of The Orville, so hopefully The Orville will make it back on this list for this week. But this week I have 4 shows I review, 4 episodes I review for this week, so let's get started. So number 4 is Kevin Probably Saves the World, Sweet Little Lies. So what happens in this episode is that Kevin tries to help out this couple who are planning their own wedding, and it turns out in this episode Kevin has to learn how to lie because in the previous episodes Yvette tells the angel who follows him around told Kevin, you know, you can't tell your family what's really going on. Like, you can't tell anybody that you're actually an angel who's out to save the world because they wouldn't believe you, or bad things will happen if you tell them. And Kevin has a hard time trying to lie to his sister and to his niece and to everybody he comes across to because Kevin's so used to telling the truth to a lot of people, and you can see in this episode that not telling the truth to a lot of people makes Kevin feel upset because it's like he wants to tell his sister that he's an angel, he's out to try to save the world, but at the same time he knows he can't because he's not allowed to. And that's pretty much what this episode is all about. Kevin trying to figure out a way to start telling lies about what he's really doing. So my thoughts about this episode is that I thought this episode was really cute. I'm surprised that this episode is like focusing on how Kevin has to learn how to lie to people because he can't really tell people you know, he's an angel or anything like that. And I think I will say, you know, with me and lying, you know, I always don't encourage lying on a lot of shows, but in this case it's like, you know, there is a reason for it. Like, there's a reason why Kevin has to lie because he's an angel and he's not allowed to tell anybody he's an angel, so he has to learn how to lie just to keep his secret identity a secret. But that's pretty much the gist of this episode. I thought it was really cute, and I thought the character moments were very well done. Like, I especially love seeing the scenes where Kevin's sister's like trying to figure out what's wrong with Kevin, even going to the point of getting Kevin's old psychiatrist to come to town. So that was a really interesting part of the episode. But overall, I gave this episode 4 stars, and that was number 4. So moving on to number 3, and that is Ghosted Lockdown. So what happens in this episode is that there appears to be an aquatic creature that gets loose in the Bureau underground, and it turns out that they have to turn the whole underground on lockdown, or put it on lockdown. And if they don't find this aquatic creature soon, then the whole underground place is going to explode unless they find this creature. So my thoughts about this episode is that I thought this episode was really fun. It was like one of the more hilarious episodes I've seen so far of this season, and I love the fact that they actually focus on Max and Leroy's relationship with the other crew members of the underground bureau base. And it was interesting seeing how Max is like bonding with the scientist who's a part of the underground bureau, and it was also interesting seeing how Leroy is like bonding with the one of the female workers who's also a fighter too. So I like seeing their relationships with the different characters of the Underground Bureau, because I feel like in the previous episodes it was mostly about Max and Leroy together, and this is like the first episode we see Max and Leroy working with other people from their the Underground Bureau they're working with. So overall I gave this episode 4 stars and that was number 3. So moving on to number 2, and that's the Inhumans, Something Inhuman This Way Comes. And what happens in this episode is that we get to learn more about Karnak and his relationship with the human girl. And we see that Karnak and the human girl are trying to escape from this drug lord who's like coming after them. And basically the whole episode is based on Karnak and how he's trying to deal with trying to find his powers again, and also bonding with the human girl at the same time. And then meanwhile, we see how Crystal is slowly bonding with this boy, this human boy she meets when she lands on Earth. And we also see how Medusa and Black Bolt finally reunited, how they're trying to find the other Inhumans that are lost on the planet. And that's pretty much the gist of this episode. And overall, I thought this episode was like so surprising, because for the last few weeks, the Inhumans episodes was like the lowest episodes on my episode picks. But this episode really surprised me because it really focused on all the characters. Like, I love the way how they developed Karnak as a character in this episode. And I think this is a really good episode for Karnak himself, because when I first saw the pilot of the Humans, he was like the character I didn't like the most. But now this episode made me really love Karnak as a character. And I'm hoping that future episodes of the Humans will go in the same route and start focusing on the other human characters like they did with Karnak. If there was an issue I had with this episode, was that I felt like characters like Gorgon and Crystal didn't really get enough development in this episode. Neither did Medusa and Black Bolt. But since this was an episode about Karnak, you know, I can accept that at some point. But I'm hoping that the next few human episodes focus on the other human characters like Gorgon and Medusa and Crystal especially. I feel like Crystal didn't get a lot of development yet, but I'm hoping the next few episodes actually develop Crystal as a character. But this is a really good episode for Karnak, and I think it's one of the best Inhumans episodes out there so far. So overall, I gave this episode 4.25 stars, and that was number 2. So moving on to my number 1 episode pick of the week, and that was The Gifted Exodus. So what happens in this episode is that Kate ends up trying to find her brother, and she believes that her brother's going to try to help her with the mutant underground and help her find her husband. But Marcos and the other mutants are like telling Kate, you know, you can't go to your brother because you can't really trust anybody outside the mutant organization. And Kate ends up going to her brother anyway, and it turns out that there's a lot of problems that arise from there with mutant when all the other humans start coming to the neighborhood and start like harassing Kate and her brother. And then also we see in this episode how the government is still trying to force Reed to like reveal the location of the mutant organization, and Reed is like, you know, I'm not going to reveal the location. But then the last episode, when the government forced try to bring his mother into all this, Reed is like, I have no choice but to try to expose the mutant underground. But then he meets a pair of mutants along the way, and it was then he realizes, you know, I can't turn in all these mutants to the government. And that's pretty much the gist of this episode. So far, I've really enjoyed this episode. Like, it's very action packed, and I love all the character moments. I especially love the fact that Kate is willing to go out of her way to help out the mutants, even though she knows that it could be a dangerous ride because of the government going after her and her children, and the fact that it could run the risk of the organization being exposed. And I like the fact that in this episode we're introduced to a new mutant. Like, we don't know her name, but it's apparent that she can input memories into a lot of people's minds, and she ends up doing that to Blank. So that was a part of the storyline that I was really interested in, and I hope to see more of this new mutant character in the later episodes. But overall, I gave the Gifted 4.75 stars, and that was my episode pick of the week. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and have you seen any of these episodes, and which episodes were your favorite? Please feel free to comment below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter so I can keep you updated on any new videos I post up, and also like my Facebook page, Rabbitearsblog's Best Comments. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you later.